Hello folks, welcome to a review of Megaman X, a part of our little initiative here. We will be reviewing a bunch of Mega Man games, specifically the X games, because I haven't reviewed those, except for X5. I would like to say that X is reminiscent of a change in the landscape of the Mega Man franchise. It truly shows how much of an improvement can there be with simple things as soon as the highway, the start of the game, which is the first game to have an introduction level, by the way. Like, it changed the introduction level. I mean, it ain't the first one, because Mega Man 7 had an introduction game stage, 8 had an introduction stage, but X had the highway introduction stage, the most famous out of all of them, and it's pretty damn great. It even has some story tension in this game, even though the game the story is kind of pretty simple to understand and get. Like, you as a person should be able to understand what the story is. You're trying to stop Sigma, yada yada yada. Nothing else needs to be said. It's like legit, just really that simple. But that being said, let's get started on this escapade, a jamboree that we call a game of Mega Man X. First things first, I like to start off with the highway stage. The highway stage is truly conducive of how to start your game off, even with just the theme. The highway theme is so iconic to everybody who's ever played. They already know that shit just got real. Everything is starting up. The first ever, this is the first Mega Man X game, so of course, when I was young playing this game, I didn't know, hey, this is going to be this way, of course it's great. Of course, you start off with this, and I genuinely can say I only remember fondness of this stage, even down to the bees, the flying, the highway area, everything about it, all down to the falling parts of the highway where you came to fight the giant bees. Oh man, just a good time, even fighting the rollies that came out of it. And like I said, this stage and everything about it truly begets the start of everything. And the game doesn't tell you nothing. It kind of lets you learn everything, like the wall bouncing and everything like that. Kind of makes you learn it, I like when games just teach you stuff without having to go, hey, do this, do that. The game just is like, yo, we're letting you know on our own. And of course, this stage ends with a very cinematic boss fight with Vile, who, when you just learn who he is, you're just like, oh my goodness, who is this guy? How can I beat him? So now you have to go to the whole story thinking, maybe I can't beat him, because as soon as you get started in this first level, you can't beat him. You can only just shoot him, and then he grabs you when your health is low enough. But you can't beat him right now. But after Zero comes and saves you, it's moving on from there. Pretty much Zero tells you can get strong. So moving on to one of the 8 stages. Chill Penguin. Now, Chill Penguin's stage is, for me, it's always going to be the first level you go to in Mega Man X, because if you go anywhere else, you'll probably be struggling up a storm. I'm not a speedrunner, nor am I a challenge gamer, Used to be, not anymore. Kind of stopped with that. But when it came to Mega Man X, this level is the level where you get the leg parts, and the leg parts do help out a lot when it comes to this game. Like, the leg parts are very amazing. You're probably going to be like, yo, I can dash, I can do anything. And of course, the music in this stage is, to me, it's not the best music, the song in the game. It's not the best. It's just, it seems like a Winter Wonderland type of theme, where, it's just talking about, being in, winter. And the level does have its challenging difficulty, and especially after you get the legs. But when you finally get to the boss, you'll probably be like, yo, hopefully nothing is as difficult as this stage. And I can tell you, no. The first boss, being Chill Penguin, he is not that difficult. He's a little hard if you don't know what to do, but if you know what you're doing, you're literally just not going to be on the ground when it comes to him, and just take pop shots at him until he dies. Which is very simple, because he slides around his belly and he easily stops, or he'll sit in one spot, shoot ice, or just jump on his hook and grab it. But that's neither here nor there. And once you finally beat him, you get your shotgun ice, which It's funny for something later in this review here. The next stage I want to look at is, in fact, Storm Eagle stage. Storm Eagle stage starts off with one of the most epic music in the Megaman X series, and where it sounds like you're on a 80s cover rock band right now, and then you just start up and you just, you know, get on that highway or the building and you start climbing and you start doing what you need to do. Hell, there's even batteries everywhere so you can blow them up and find hidden secrets everywhere. A lot of people don't know this, but yes, you can shoot the batteries and they do take a minute to blow up, but hey, once you find all the secrets in that area, you're good to go. You also get to find the helmet in the Storm Eagle stage. It's actually pretty good. You know, it's pretty helpful for when you need to kind of play the game and headbutt stuff to get the arms too, which I'll make mention later. You know how epic this stage is? You actually get to climb aboard a ship before you fight Storm Eagle. Now, when you climb aboard a ship, you're like, oh crap, wait, this ship looks really familiar. Turns out it's the same ship that Val jumped out of at the beginning of the game. You get to blow it up. Congratulations. You will never see this thing again. And what I do like about this game is some levels do alter other ones. Like, they change the way they look or have part of them. Like, when you beat this level, it will crash right in the Spark Mandrill stage. Once it crashes in the Spark Mandrill stage becomes slightly easier. I do like that mechanic. And Storm Eagle himself, he's not a truly hard boss. It's just you have to avoid getting blown off of the ledge and kind of avoid his diving attack, which could be really easy because once you figure it out that he's coming from left or right, you just go the opposite direction that he's coming, or you go under him if you can see it fast enough. Real easy. Get yourself a tornado attack, you know what I mean? Spark Mandrill stage, like I said, if you've done Storm Eagle's stage first, you get to see bits and pieces of the ship inside of the base, especially at the beginning. But past that, you know, the stage is pretty, you know, simple, linear, and they got a couple of challenges later in the stage, especially when it comes to the mini boss of the stage, which, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, it's pretty complicated. But once you figure it out that it takes a couple of tornado shots to destroy it, you will be destroying that joint so quick, man, so fast. Now, the next thing is Spark Mandrill. Spark Mandrill is by far the inventor of a disease in this game called Spark Mandrill syndrome. Spark Mandrill syndrome is a syndrome in a Mega Man X boss where it's better if I just showed you. Yeah, Spark Mandrill, once you have his weakness, is not in any way, shape, or form hard as a boss. Flame Mammoth. Flame Mammoth is a stage. When it starts off and you hear the theme, you're going to be like, oh, this is pretty cool. He does have a pretty interesting theme. His theme, it speaks high volumes of his level. It's like, maybe we're going to be challenging, maybe we're not. If you beat Chill Penguin, then you officially will notice that the lava in the map has been frozen, which is not a bad thing because it does allow you to get a couple of things like your heart. But once you move on and everything, it should be good to go. Yeah, you should be good to go once you get your heart and everything. And the level does come with the arms, or you can get the arms in the level. But like I said, the rest of the stage, his stage is actually one of the easier stages. It's actually straightforward, especially if you freeze it over. It just becomes a straightforward affair into avoiding spikes and everything. It's actually pretty fun, The mammoth boss fight himself. He can be very difficult if you genuinely don't know what you're in for, especially when it comes to his stomp attack that does trip you up really easily. He can't stomp the ground and trip you up. It's not hard for him. But if you know just to jump and stay out of his way, you should be good to go. Like he is Like, he is pretty, heavy when it comes to hits. He switches fire, and just don't let him spew oil and get fire on the floor. Get fire on it. You won't have a place to stand. It will be very agitating for people like you, or me, or you, or whatever. I'm not saying anything about it. You're bad. But of course, once you get him, you get one of the most broken weapons in the game when it comes to certain damages, damaging an enemy. Armored Armadillo. Armored Armadillo, as soon as his stage starts, you just feel like some type of funk when it comes to his stage starting off. And it's actually very amazing, and I love this is one of my favorite themes in this game. It just starts off so cool, especially as you start off rolling down this hill, and then you notice, like, hey, I can take advantage of this. Enemies can't hurt me, man. I'm cruising. The main gimmick of this stage are these bulldozer things that can't kill you off the first hit, but again, if you have the fire, it will get rid of them. You'll get rid of them really easy. You get yourself a heart tank and an extra heart, and you should be good to go. Increase your health. By this point, you should have at least a huge point of health if you're playing the game in order, or if you're collecting everything. It only takes like 1 or 2 retrips to a couple of stages to get to stuff like Choke Penguin, but past that, yeah. But Armored Armadillo, if you have his weakness, is truly easy. Like, his weakness is genuinely easy, especially when it comes to playing the game and you realize, oh man, what's his weakness? It's Spark Manager's weakness, because you can't hurt him while he's of course rolling, but once you break off his armor, boom, he's pretty easy at that point. You can just keep shooting his weakness and he'll either roll into it on his own, or you can straight up shoot him. It's pretty easy to mess Armored Armadillo up. It's pretty fun to kind of mess him up too. Moving on to Launch Octopus, or Octopardo as mistranslated in Mega Man X5. Launch Octopus's stage pretty much is a affair in attrition and fighting waves of enemies at the same time, and then also trying to get learned to the water terrain in this game or this franchise. It is a very well introduction, of course, with 2 mini bosses that both blow you away and pull you in. The first one is to kind of just teach you, like, this is what I'm going to do. The second one is the one where you have to watch out, because the second one is the one that will pull you into a thing of spikes, or blow you back into a thing of spikes, depending on what you do. But it's very easy to get messed up in that. When it comes to like the rest of the stage, there's a ship above the sea that will be dropping bombs. You can blow it up. There's a bunch of these snake things in the water that you can also blow it up. It's actually pretty well-versed stage in terms of having you do stuff. And what I do like about this stage is it is very huge. It's one of the bigger stages in the franchise. It literally has multiple layers to it. Even though it's kind of linear, it still is huge. You can even jump out the top of the water, even from where you are, if you're ever that good enough, or you really care about hacking the game to see what's above the ocean and where you are at all times. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Moving on to the Launch Octopus. Of course, his weakness is Rolling Shield, and this man is literally he is not the easiest boss without Rolling Shield. With Rolling Shield, he's kind of easier because you can stop his attacks from hurting you, and it's pretty good and simple to stop. But if you don't have any of that, also he can absorb your HP, so never get hit by one of his tornadoes. He is not the easiest boss in the world, because he constantly is launching his attacks at all times. So it's always best to keep hitting him with the Rolling Shield to avoid kind of dying horribly, especially when it comes to him. But once you beat him, of course, you get the missile, aka the only weapon in the game that locks on the enemies / will kind of get you an advantage in a lot of situations. Boomer Corregner. Boomer Corregner stage is officially the most vertical stage in the Mega Man franchise, as it just goes straight up. Doesn't have nothing else, goes up and up and up until you reach the top of the tower, which I could say is not the easiest thing to do. There are spikes everywhere. There's an elevator to get you up to the top. You know, there are guns, turrets everywhere. The enemies all ready to jump in at the bit to take a bite out of your metal butt. I do like how this stage, again, it is very vertical. And even if you look at the outside picture, everything matches up. I kind of like that part of the aspect of the stage. But getting to the top is not the easiest thing. Like I said, it's a struggle, or can be a struggle if especially if you're like, what am I doing? Then there's Boomerang himself. Boomerang, without the missiles, is one of the most complicated bosses in the game because of his constant teleporting. And he's so fast when it comes to his attacks that you'll barely be able to see him if you don't do that. He also has, attacks where he can grab you and throw you into the roof, which does stall time, but like I said, you got to be really careful. Then you get yourself the Boomerang move, which does help you collect items in the game. And it also is the next boss's weakness, which is, Signature Million. Signature Million stage, if in infancy, in itself should be one of the hardest stages, but if you completed all the other bosses in the game, it is not complicated at all, because all the effects of the other stages do affect this stage very well. Like if you completed Launch Octopus, some of the pitfalls have water in them, so you can kind of avoid situations. And when it comes to like getting to the boss, it will be 2 times easier to get to him, because everything won't be paying attention, everything will kind of be messed up, and you do have less enemies on the stage. Now, getting to Signature Million himself as a boss, Signature Million, if you don't have his weakness, is in fact, in my opinion, the hardest boss out of the 8 to fight. He's constantly teleporting and he constantly moves around and shoots you with his sting shells, but with it, he's literally almost got Spark Mantle syndrome. You knock him off, he ends up in the other spot. Knock him off, he ends up in the other spot. And you can always constantly, you hit him with the Boomerang move, or the boomerangs constantly. So he does suffer from a slight Spark Mantle syndrome, but he does not complete. Moving on to Sigma stages. The first Sigma stage is outside the tower, and as soon as you land, you hear some of the most epic music, and Zero tells you it's go time. Of course, let's do this. You split up, one goes to the tower first, the other one goes to the tower second. My only problem with this opening stage is the climbing into the base. It's pretty frustrating, and I also have another negative which I will get into in a month. But of course, climbing this tower is the most frustrating thing, or getting to the tower, the most frustrating. And again, the music of this stage is so epic. It truly shows the start of a final battle. And of course, when you finally get into the tower, you get to fight Vile one final time, mano a mano, after he engaged Zero. And of course, if you have full health and full everything, could take forever. Of course, Zero does one of the most sacrificial things ever by sacrificing his life to blow up Vile's carrier. And secret thing, if you did not have the arms by this point, Zero will give you his and you'll automatically complete the armor at this point. But next you'll fight Vile, and Vile of course is weak to the missiles, and the missiles do stop him from moving around, because Vile is also fast. He's probably faster than Boomerang when it comes to just his movement. He's not teleporting, but he just moves so quickly, and it's almost impossible to stop some of his moves. He even has a move where he can encage you in the thing, and it comes from his gun. But once you finally defeat Vile and all his epicness, it's time to say goodbye to Zero and move on to a tunnel section where I say just put on Signature Million's charge all the way and get going. You don't have to fight all of it, because you'll be here for the rest of your life. Followed by a refight of Boomerang, which if you know or played any Mega Man game, you have to fight all the bosses again. He just happens to be the first one you fight, and if you saved up your missiles, then yeah, you should be running this joint real easy. Next, it's one of the worst boss fights I've ever fought in the Mega Man game. It's called Boss Spider or something like that. It is literally Spider the RNG. Now this thing is literally, it goes on a track and it genuinely goes against, you know, wherever you are or wherever you're going to be, which sometimes it's physically impossible for the game to even know where you're going to be if you're not there already. Like, you could be standing in one spot and the spider will start its descent and then it will try to head its way to you, which doesn't make any sense unless the game is really just that smart. And you're like, that don't add up, chief. So you have to either wait till a pattern and outsmart the computer, which is not, you know, sometimes not possible, or you have to, you know, just, you know, try to make the game guess a pattern and guess wrong, which, you know, sometimes doesn't happen because the spider starts moving faster and faster and there's nothing you can do about it. And by the way, the only way to hurt the boss is to literally hit it when his eye opens at the back on his back, and like I said, it's almost impossible. Now, Sigma Stage 2 has, to me, signifies the, you know, being in the middle of an enemy base. The music especially does signify this, that you're in for a tough battle, and I love the theme of this area. It's actually really good. I love it. Moving on to the rest of the stage, of course you got your couple of boss fights, so I'm gonna avoid those because clearly I've already talked about the bosses. There's nothing I can say, they don't change up anything. And there are sections in this map where you get to ride the gunship, not the gunship, but the mech for a second. Of course, go through areas that without this mech, it would be a little bit of a hustle, whatever. And of course, it's very amazing. And the main boss of this stage is a giant wall with teeth. It's a giant gorilla wall with teeth. I don't know what you call it, but you fight the eyes, you fight it. It's almost very agitating to fight in some instances. That's why I would recommend you kill the eyes first and then kill the nose, because if you kill the eye if you kill the nose first and then the eyes, the boss fight could essentially be guess where the eye is coming from and guess how you're gonna attack it, because the walls close in on the area and you can't physically attack it, and it's very annoying. So, you know, just be careful, guys, on which part you do decide to get rid of first. Next, I will move on to the third stage. The third Sigma stage, especially the music in it, signifies you are just about at the end and you're about to get started when it comes to the final boss. But there's one more obstacle in your way. The last bit of the boss fights, and a particularly funny boss called the D-Rex. The D-Rex is a very novel boss for testing your patience and your reflexes, because the boss can start, it's two of them in one, and the bottom part can crush on the wall, the top one can just make contact with you, and it can be very frustrating when you're not paying attention to one or the other. So you have to be very, very careful when it comes to that. And then there's the Sigma final stage, where, of course, if anybody knows, there's an exploit at the beginning where you can just jump. If you need to refill your heart tanks or anything, you can do that when it comes to the little spiders or little worms at the beginning, and then pretty much start climbing the tower. Of course, the music in this just signifies where's Sigma right now. You know, I'm about to end this now. And of course, when you get up there, Sigma, you know, prattles on about what he prattles on about, and then sends a dog cat after you. I don't know what it is. Don't ask. It's a dog cat. I want a cat dog, but you know, yeah, it's a dog cat. Then of course he fights you in one of the most iconic Sigma roles or bodies he's ever been in, which is, you know, the regular Sigma with the lightsaber or beam saber. This is the Sigma that everyone knows. It's even the one in Marvel's Capcom Infinite. Now once this Sigma pulls out his lightsaber, man, all I can say is run. Just don't be on the ground trying to fight this man. It is not good for you, because you know he'll destroy you. It's a pretty hard boss fight, especially when it comes to the damage that he does, but who cares about any of that? Just end Sigma. and then he gets into his final form, which is combined with the background. If you really noticed the body in the background, then kudos points for you. Of course, there are two ways to defeat this form. It's the rolling shield version, where you can just hit him with the rolling shield without having to constantly charge your buster up. Other than that, you're gonna have to charge your buster up. There's nothing you can do about that. You actually have to charge it up. Or you can just hit him with the rolling shield, which is 2 times simpler, which does a lot of damage over time. But like I said, those are the 2 options you have to beat him, because if not, you are not beating the boss. You will officially, like, if you don't have a charge shot and you run out of rolling shots for some reason, yeah, you lost. There's nothing you can do. You actually would have to sit here and let the boss kill you and see about recharging rolling shield when you have to start over from the beginning when the boss fights. But once you finally get rid of Sigma and it's over, you will get the base exploding, you get your ending credits, and you get your obligatory names, and of course the first biggest Mega Man X thing or reveal is the fact that Sigma is not dead. He has uploaded himself into another body, in which Mega Man X2, which I will suit cover just after this, will be revealed in his Wolverine form, by the way. That being said, if I was to rate this game, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10, especially for the start of the series. And I do recommend it for anybody who is a Mega Man X fan to go through the whole franchise, and you definitely have to start with this one. Of course, this series has its ups and downs, and I do want to say that this was a great starter, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will catch you guys in the next video of this, which would be X2, of course. But I'll catch you guys later.
Once we have the mics alive to consume it to